you get immediately labeled, as a satanic Putin worshiper, so to speak. All that is to me is evidence that this debate is being handled at a very juvenile level. That's what happened in World War I, by the way. I mean, people reacted incredibly stupidly as World War I unfolded and got their arm caught in the bandsaw, let's say, and tore the entire continent apart for 4 years for basically no gain whatsoever.
That's right.
So it looks to me like that's the right historical analog here.
No, that's exactly right. I think we have very high potential here of everyone losing a lot. And what disturbs me greatly is that I have yet to have anyone articulate to me any sound argument for what the end looks like, how this culminates in making the world a better place, in added peace to the world. What you certainly don't hear that within the U.S. government. I haven't heard that, nor do you hear peace talks going on. Let's find a way to resolve this so that we have as few people dying at the end of the day as possible. And we don't hear that at all. What you do hear, it hasn't been that long since you heard Zelensky and other people in his government talking about things like, this is going to end with our tanks, Ukrainian tanks on Moscow's Red Square. Now, that raises all sorts of questions, like how is that going to happen? And whose tanks will those be? Will those be American tanks? That's certainly not a vision shared by Americans, I don't think. I've never heard our president or any of my colleagues in the Senate or counterparts in the House of Representatives envision that kind of outcome. I don't know what victory looks like under their plan. And that's deeply concerning because if you don't have an end in mind, you're going to be taken in all sorts of strange directions. I guarantee you Putin's got an end in mind, and it's not favorable to us.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what do you suppose Putin would be willing to settle for, and what do you think he could sell his people as a sufficient victory if peace talks were to proceed? Now, I also know, by the way, as far as it's possible to know these things, and I've been told by very reliable observers who should be in a position to know that there were peace negotiations on the table last March, and that those were scuttled primarily on the American side by the Biden administration. So that's rather disturbing. And so it would also be very useful for me to be able to conceptualize something approximating what the West might accept as terms for peace, given that, as you pointed out, the ultimate extension of the war in the direction that Zelensky's more extreme statements have indicated, well, it's just a non-starter. First of all, many people have tried in the last 200 years to advance their tanks all the way to Moscow, and that tended to end very badly for anyone who tried to do it. And that happened a minimum of 3 times, and the same thing happened every time. And then we should also point out with 100% certainty that there isn't a chance in hell of Ukrainian tanks, say made in the West, ending up in Red Square without the Russians doing everything that's in their power to make absolutely certain that that never happens. So,
Go ahead.
Well, I'm interested in the fact that there seems to be virtually no negotiation